Hello, I'm Cora White, host of Life in the Carolinas. Over the years, we have been honored to share many stories of men and women who have and do serve our nation. In this special Life in the Carolinas feature, we will share the story of an American patriot, Colonel James Quincy Collins, Jr. Born on the 4th of July in South Carolina and raised in North Carolina. As a young boy, he discovered the power of music, and his ability to entertain would serve him well all throughout life. While young, he would learn to fly an airplane with his father, who was a member of the Civil Air Patrol. He would graduate from the Citadel, despite a few colorful indiscretions. He would go on to have a distinguished career in the United States Air Force, including 7.5 years as a POW in Vietnam. His story does not end with his dramatic return home. He would continue to serve the Patriot's cause and does still to this day. As we celebrate Veterans Day, we are honored to share this brief look into an American patriot, Colonel J. Quincy Collins, Jr. The special will start airing February the 13th, 2021. This date coincides with his POW release date from the Hanoi Hilton in Vietnam on February the 12th, 1973.
We were flying F-86s because that's what they used during Korea. The Korean War was just over. And so they were bringing these airplanes back and they were in horrible condition. And so we taxi in, he gets out, slaps me on the back and said, "Go get them, Lieutenant Collins." And I'm flying F-104, which is the fastest damn airplane ever built by Lockheed. And I am checking out in the F-105, which is a big airplane. It's got a bomb bay. You could hang 10 750-pound bombs on the wings. I was there to become the world's greatest fighter pilot. That was my mission. And just as soon as I rolled in, boom! I got hit with flak. My whole life is going to change here. First time I got an airplane was when I was in high school. Dad had this Piper Cub coupe, good-looking airplane, and the name on it was Carolyn. And my sister could have become a better pilot probably than I.
When's the first time you heard of Vietnam and the conflict, and what were you doing at that time? Where were you in your flight process?
I was at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas. We were flying F-86s because that's what they used during Korea. The Korean War was just over. And so they were bringing these airplanes back and they were in horrible condition. I am checking out in the F-105, which is a big airplane.
So all that's happening, but it's pushing you. It's pushing you to a level of excellence, right? I mean, the numbers are really racking up, aren't they?
Yep, they are. I was a flight commander, and the last mission, I think, was the 13th mission. Went up to the Mekong River. My cockpit indicator said, "Target is straight ahead." And then when we got there, lead had to come back around. He wasn't in any position to roll into the target, but I was. So I rolled in, and my wingman followed me down, and he backed off like we were supposed to. And just as soon as I rolled in, boom! I got hit with flat. You know, everything was going wrong that could go wrong. I don't remember ejecting from the airplane, but I didn't know those things. I wasn't aware of what was going on, except when I became conscious again, I was leaning up against a palm tree, and I had on nothing but my shorts. My watch was gone, my Citadel ring was gone. I was just sitting there in my shorts. And I thought, oh, my whole life is gonna change here. I was in agony. I was hurting bad.
So were you held captive then at a certain place, or were you moving all the time?
Not moving. I felt that we were on the way to Hanoi. I think maybe they stopped at a place we later called the zoo. That's how I ended up arriving at the hospital in Hanoi. I was put in what they call New Guy Village. And this is where the new guys were introduced to the interrogations and the torture and this, that, and the other. Most of the guys who were tortured, and we all were tortured in some way or another, because my limit in torture, not the same as yours. They put Hanoi Hannah on the PA system. They just hooked her up, and it's broadcasting out across that neighborhood and that prison camp. And she went on to say how America says it's just landed 2 people on the moon. One of them was an old friend of mine. And so I said to myself, I want to see the moon. And then I said, I'm going to look around here and see if there's somewhere where I can use a nail that I got from medical room. And I want to see it. So I found a place where they had replastered a window. So I started poking around, started in. Fortunately, I got the right place. And so sure enough, up comes this big, beautiful moon. It came into focus, and I could visualize my friends, people I knew who were on that moon and leaving that flag, driving those buggies around and jumping up and down and not having gravity to deal with. I thought, God almighty, do I need that now? I'd just like to bounce out of here, you know? I was excited.
To give you hope?
Yeah.
How did your group get the word that it was time to go home?
The Rabbit. The Rabbit was the guy who had charge of all POWs, and he was a bastard. The next day after the announcement, the gate opens up in our cell, and 22 of us are called out. And we're taken across the courtyard into another part of the prison. We are going to be on the first airplane. And I marched out with my wounded guys and put them on sort of an ambulance type conveyance. And then after breakfast, the rest of us went out and got in the buses. We were in two apart, you know, 2 aligned side by side, and got on the buses and drove out past the Red River. And then we got down to the flight line, and they called us by our Vietnamese name. Mine was Kong, like King Kong. So Kong stepped up I signed out. I looked up at the rabbit and I said, quote, "Rabbit, the best thing about this is I get to leave, but you gotta stay." And with that, I said, oh, I shouldn't have said that. So I turned and ran over to this Air Force colonel and I said, "Get me on that airplane quick before he changes his mind." And so they did. They closed the doors, cranked up that engine. We taxied out. So we got down at the end of the runway and everybody stopped and prayed that we would make it off of that runway. And so we ran down the runway and you could feel that airplane lift off the concrete. And then we sucked up the gear and we all, you know, just, we were so thrilled that we're on the way. We're on the way. And most of us didn't know what the hell was waiting for us. And so we got to the other end and they said, okay, Denton's gonna come off and make a few remarks and then it'll be alphabetical from then on. I said, Collins, C, we're gonna get off here pretty quick. And I came off limping. I tried to grow a mustache, so I didn't look like me. So a lot of people didn't recognize me. We went over and got on a bus and went to the hospital at Clark. And I went on and flew into Maxwell Air Force Base, and my mom and sis met me.
One day, something happened and you realized that the Veterans Parade wasn't going the way you thought it should go. What happened?
Well, it was Veterans Day, so I went to where I was supposed to, got up on the flat bed with all the old guys who'd done it forever, and I turned to this one fella and I said, Clarence, how long have you guys been doing this? He said, 17, 18 years. And I said, have you been putting this thing on? He said, yes, sir, we do it every year. Look forward to it. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is this community having you throw your own parade to honor you? They ought to be doing that for you. We got to do something about this because this should be what the community is doing for the veterans. So John Belk and some other guys, Hugh McCall, joined in and we started this group. And now it is the Carolinas Freedom Foundation. It is to honor our veterans and to educate our young people as to what the veteran means to you and your freedom.
Are you excited about that?
I am.
Yeah.
I just hope that I have enough years left to be a part of it.
Would a fighter pilot imagine it any other way?
I hope not. There's an old story. Do you know how to tell if the world's greatest fighter pilot is in the same room with you? And the answer is, just stand by, he'll tell you. And bigger drama is coming ahead.